Hello, friends. It's been a while. How are we doing? Ah, happy Friday to you, one and all. It's Orbtoberfest. What does that mean? It means it's the month of October. This time last year, we played Cult Divinity Lost, and the actual plays are on our YouTube if you are kind of bored and want to watch people being a little bit scared. This year, we've got a bunch of things that we're doing primarily on Twitch. We started off this week, back on Monday, with Ghostbusters RPG, which was incredibly fun. And then next week on Monday on Twitch, we're doing Monster of the Week, which, if you've never played it before, is an awesome Powered by the Apocalypse role playing game. And there's more. So, just a little bit of a kind of a heads up, I guess, for patrons of our wonderful channel. Hopefully, it's wonderful. For every game that we're playing on the stream as part of Orbtoberfest, I'm donating a game from my library over there. I haven't decided what. It kind of depends on what we play. So for Ghostbusters RPG, I'm donating my copy of 90 Minutes of Mayhem, which is a little zine role-playing game. And who knows what Powered by the Apocalypse game I'm going to donate. What we're doing with those donations, they're going into a patron giveaway. So next month, November, basically any of our patrons who want to take part can just throw their name in the hat. And first come, first served, they can win one of my games that I love, because I've got loads and I don't need them all. So I'm going to take some of my favorites that don't get enough love and share them. As you know, we're here to talk about Kickstarters, and there are a couple of really cool ones today. And actually, let's do this thing and turn on the chat overlay here. So as you type, and wonderful to see you, by the way, Snowbright Studio. As you type live, we'll catch your comments. Bruce says, "Who foolishly agreed to run Ghostbusters for you?" That would be you, Sanjura Takagi, and a fine job you did as well. If you would like to check that game out, it's currently on Twitch. At some point, I'll have enough energy to actually go through and get that onto YouTube. We need to do just a little bit of fine tuning on the audio there, but we're getting, I was going to say ahead of ourselves, probably behind ourselves. I don't know, something. We're getting carried away. It's Friday. I'm really happy to be here. So, with Devious Dungeons, Foreboding Forest, and the Coolest Cats, and if you're a cool cat, please hit like and subscribe and all that stuff. My name's Phil, and welcome back to Kickstart Your Weekend on the Dark Orb. Hey. It's great to see you, Jason, as well. Yeah, not maybe getting the show out as quite as much as I would like to. It's been a bit of a crazy few weeks, but I saw these two games and I just had to talk about them, both from indies, and we know that we love a sufficiently indie role-playing game here at the Dark Orb. Both a bit spooky. And as I said, it's Orbtoberfest. Last year we did it as All Hallows Month. And yeah, we had a bit of a focus on horror. This year we're doing the same thing. And I really like the common thread that both of these games have. Should we... and we say there'll be more Ghostbusters role-playing action in the future. That's right, we are actually in talks for the next session of that, which will probably be, I would guess, maybe around December time. We haven't kind of penciled that in, so don't crucify us if we don't manage that. But I'm hopeful. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I've never played a West End Games role-playing game before, and of course, that whole D6 dice pool thing. It's kind of the big granddaddy of all the Year Zero engine games and other dice pool games that we love. So it was great. I really enjoyed it. It sounds like you need to pay. Everyone needs to pay Bruce, but we'll pay him with beer when we do Orbtoberfest in person next year. Yeah. Right. Let's start talking about the games on crowdfunding. And as we saw that Snowbright Studio are here, thank you very much for joining, by the way. I love the look of this project, and I'm looking forward to going through it. Let's talk about ink. So bear with me whilst I do the incompetent thing and try and share my other screen. Where are we? Here. So is that showing up? Let's have a look. Boom. Right. Ink. I'm intrigued by this. Let me know what you guys think as we go through it. So let's first of all kind of talk about the let me just get back to fighting with stuff. The interesting thing about role playing, both as a GM and as a player, is that over a number of months, weeks, sometimes years, you can get really attached to your characters. Now, they might not be player characters, could be NPCs, could be a character you've only just created, and Mort will testify to this. Good to see you, Mort. Sometimes when you're playing a game like Dungeon Crawl Classics and you've rolled up a whole bunch of characters as 0 level, you have one that straight away you just love, and you start role playing them, and it's just great. Everything about it is just clicking. And of course, when you're playing Dungeon Crawl Classics, the character that you love the most in that 0 level funnel, and if you don't know what I mean by that, then we have an episode with Tinfoil Saint, Judge Sack, all about Dungeon Crawl Classics and funnels and all that sort of stuff in the YouTube back catalogue, so go and have a look. You can absolutely love a character that you've only had at the table for 5, 10, 20 minutes real time. And as is the want with Dungeon Crawl Classics, and other games are like this as well, that character mercifully dies. Normally some kind of hero's death, or tragically dies when they should have been completely safe. You know, you keep them in the middle of your player group, or you keep them at the back, and something crap happens. Likewise, you can get really attached to NPCs, both as a player or as a GM. You know, sometimes it's just one NPC that you absolutely adore. And it seems a shame to... yes, exactly, Jason. For Farg! If you go and check out our Dungeon Crawl Classics series for my personal favourite Dungeon Crawl Classics character for a long time, Farg, who I played, who died stupidly, if I recall correctly, and has had a successful, kind of infiltration from other members of his family throughout the campaign. So, yes, that's a good example. This game addresses that really lovely way. The central conceit of this is, well, my understanding of it is, and Snowbright, as you're here, I am very happy for you to correct me throughout this segment. My understanding is that effectively your characters are in a purgatory. So you get to play those characters one more time if you want to. You can play your NPCs, your player characters, whatever you want. You can create a new character from fresh, have a newly dead character that you've never played before, or you can reincarnate. It's not probably the right word, but re-embody a character that you've absolutely adored for minutes or years, and translate them into this setting. And there are ways to do that. It's not going to be a one-to-one likeness, obviously, because every system is different, so you're going to have to kind of map them through. But that's the general conceit, is that you're playing a deceased player character, or a deceased character, and they're trying to make their way through purgatory. Already, I love it. The art style is stunning, really simple, really effective, and there's not a great deal more I can say immediately without just going through the campaign. So bear with me whilst I fight with my browser, because for some reason I am incapable of operating technology yet again. Okay, right. So if we go back to that view, and then I will minimize the screen rather than controlling it. God, this is a great start. There we go. Right, stop. There we go. Battle your way through the spirit world in ink, a new tabletop role-playing game from Snowbright Studio. Rejoin the lost souls of departed characters, as I said, as you travel dangerous waters and treacherous isles. It's worth watching this video. I'm not going to play it. It's about, I think, 11 minutes long. There's a great little intro, and then there's more about the studio. And the studio has got a few productions under its wing, including a card-based game, Birds of a Feather, and Tea Time Adventures, which is an RPG focused book. I think it's like a collection of adventures that you can probably slot into anything that you want to. So, an established studio, definitely indie. Let's have a look. So, yeah, let's have a look together. So, battle your way through Spirit World in ink. We've already said that. Tells a tale of the afterlife with all the cozy grace of an old friend. Another masterpiece by Snowbright. So, straight away, I mean, it's not necessarily a horror scenario or a horror game, although absolutely you could play it that way if you really want to. What's in the book? There we go. That's what it looks like. I love this art on the front cover. All of the rules you need to play the game, a map of the spirit world and details on the waters and islands of the ink, 6 shadow forms the players can choose from to grow their supernatural abilities. The shadow stuff's interesting. I need to remind myself whilst we're going through this, but I remember thinking that was a nice take on things. 10 greater fiends to challenge players at the end of the epic journey, 25 sea monsters, 75 different elixirs, rules for nautical combat, including constructing and upgrading ships. You didn't think you'd find that in a role-playing game about purgatory. Rules for rapidly creating dungeon crawls, a collection of barista-owned and operated elixir shops to drop into your campaigns. And this is something that I actually really like. We'll talk about that in a minute. What's in the box? Well, this is where it does get a little bit challenging. Hopefully there will be add-ons and things. I haven't gone through this, so forgive me. But effectively, the tier structure is kind of intriguing, and it's probably my only criticism, really, of the game, or one of 2 criticisms, but neither of them are major. So let's have a look. The deluxe barista backers will receive a special collector's edition ink box up here. The box set will only ever be available during the campaign and in person at select conventions while supplies last. And the keen-eyed among you who know me well, so those of you who hang out in our Discord, for example, link is below, everyone is welcome, will spot these things here, these bags here. Presuming that my mouse is showing up on the screen, actually. Let me have a look. Yeah, it is. So there's a couple of bags on the right-hand side of the screen, but also you get copy of the Ink Core rulebook, 6 custom glass dice made of shattered shadows. To think about whether I said that correctly. 1 ethereal glass karma die, etched with the ever-watching eyes of the deep. These dice look gorgeous, by the way. A handcrafted elderwood dice chest made of oak. Not elder, oak. To store your glass dice in. A map of the world of ink, a collection of box set barista stickers, 40 ink action cards for rapid combat and status effect tracking, 40 plus ink tracker tokens, and 24 ounces of inky custom roasted coffee blends from Many Worlds Tavern to serve to the spirits at your table. Now, I think we all know that I am a huge coffee fan. In fact, I'll take this opportunity to have a slurp of my coffee. And I really do have coffee in here from my lovely The Dark Orb mug. And if you would like The Dark Orb mug, they are exclusively available to patrons on Patreon at a certain level. So check that out. And you too could get your hands on a very exclusive patrons only The Dark Orb mug. My coffee's gone a little bit cold. It's been here for about 20 minutes now. Roasted Phil nuts. No, beans. Roasted beans. I'm going to have another slurp. This is delicious. But yeah, so I love this idea of throwing some coffee in there. I do have some logistical questions about that. Like, obviously, is that US only? Presuming that I think you are in North America. Is that US and Canada only? Are you shipping internationally? With the way the world is right now, international shipping is really a complete bitch. Best way to put it. So I'd love to know that. And I'm sure that as we have your other comments, we'll find out. So in ink, you're dead and you drink coffee. What's not to like? Exactly. Best possible life or death experience is to also have great coffee. We're not liable for any supernatural powers that you may gain from ingesting these caffeinated elixirs. I'd also love to know whether this is ground coffee or beans, because that's the kind of nerd I am. The dice are gorgeous. Look at these. So glass dice, which obviously means that if you drop them on a really hard surface, you run the risk of chipping them, but also means that you can use them as ranged weapons in the event of things not going your way. Would suck if it turned out to be decaf. Absolutely. There's no way that you're going to rejoin the land of the living with decaf, though. So it's probably a safe bet from the harbingers of doom to make sure that you stay dead. Most resurrected PC joining the party saying, "Are we there yet?" repeatedly. This is why they died in the first place, right? How do you play? It's a D6 based system. In fact, I think both of these games are D6 based systems, designed from the ground up to be full, unique, but accessible rules. Design goal was to create a game with deep variability and strategy. It's simple to learn and fast to play. You roll a set of D6 for both skills and combat. In fact, in Ghostbusters, you have a bunch of D6 and then one die that's a different color. So, whilst I don't know the mechanics here, that it seems very similar. Players level differently than in other traditional games. For the history of tabletop role-playing games, GMs have feared, some more than others, absolutely, accidentally killing their entire party of players. But in Ink, it's encouraged. Why is it encouraged? This is the great bit. Players only level up their characters when the entire party dies. I like that. That's a nice change. The reframing allows players to try creative builds, encourages GMs to send their most terrific creatures into battle, brings a whole new meaning to the afterlife. When the players are defeated, they gain new abilities, powers, memories, and more as they sail once again across the seas of the ink. With a little luck, they may be able to recover lost equipment. Shadow powers. This is really interesting as well. So you have a shadow that accompanies you. But my understanding is when you basically get into a combat or a stressful situation, the shadow comes to help. And it could, as it says here, do you want a shadow that incinerates your foes? How about one that frees them instead? Shadow powers act as an ad hoc class system, allow players to customize their characters as they play instead of getting locked into a single path. I'm hugely in favor of classless systems, so that's great. They have a variety of traits, cause enemies take on different status effects. And then, you've got these little trackers. Karma. Spirits handle skill checks with fast and simple D6 rolls based on proficiency. Shadows use a collection of D6 rolls to determine success of their attacks. Both cases, you must also roll a karma die, which I guess is that die at the top, to either aid or hinder the efforts. Good karma makes rolls easier, bad karma makes them harder, etc. So that's quite nice. So it's like a wild card, if you like. You're rolling that alongside, like we see with many other systems, I guess, to an extent, but maybe with a little bit more variability. So, similar to what we saw, for example, in Ghostbusters, many other games, but I think there's a little bit of a unique edge to this, from the way it feels, at least. This is great. In combat, there's no initiative, but those shadows change their shape, size, and ferocity as they help you basically in battle. The deluxe Booster box, which is one of those pledge levels, has like all these cards and stuff, but they're otherwise available to print and play. And there's like tools for generating a campaign and lots of beasties as well. Let's catch up a little bit in the comments. We are shipping regions listed on campaign page. Thank you. I hadn't spotted that. US, Canada, UK, EU, New Zealand, and Australia. Superb. And so far, the coffee blends are set to be whole bean. It's the only way, in my opinion, and there are other opinions, but you never know how someone's going to want to prepare those blends. And I know you're doing a dark blend and like a medium light blend, so people might want to prepare those differently. You don't know what they're going to do. Could be espresso, could be filter, or V60 or drip or AeroPress or any of these other. I'm just going to have some more coffee now. any of those other coffee preparation mechanisms. You can tell this is right up my alley from a coffee perspective. I think that's great. Whole bean's the only way, because you don't know otherwise how people are going to want to consume these things. Right. I'm a little concerned this might end up being as depressing as Wraith the Oblivion was, though. Circling the Drain, or is there redemption? Well, that's a great question. What happens to characters after they die? They fall into the ink. That's where the adventure begins. Bring back the spirit of a character who died in a prior campaign. Revisit a much-loved but long-departed NPC from games long past. I love how this is written, by the way. Or create a newly departed spirit just for this game. Journey with them as you battle epic creatures and friends. Fiends, rather. Battle friends. Why not? And help them to come to terms with their prior lives among the living. Don't linger in purgatory too long, or a spirit will become part of the inky ocean below. You seek to escape from purgatory, but your shadow may have other ideas. These companions are made up of unbridled emotion. During combat, shadows take over completely, making for rapid combat. Exploring the ink is a dangerous place, shifting an ethereal world. The dark, unchanging sky overhead reaches up high enough to touch the firmament. A great clockwork sky fortress protected by the astral keepers. I really like this. I think it's fun. And as I said, the way it's written is wonderful. A lonely lighthouse shines at the heart of the ink, and is a common first sight for new spirits. The seas of the ink are dotted with small islands called keys. While danger lurks on many of the island shores, keys are also home to the elixir shops. These vessel cafes are staffed by baristas, spirits that are so skilled they can brew the waters of the ink into powerful elixirs that grant spirits and shadows new powers. Spirits made up of personality and memories of those who've left the world of the living behind. Death holds no prejudice. Let's nip back to the comments. Battle epic friends. Didn't know you were advertising the Discord channel. We don't battle too often, thankfully, on the Discord channel, but it does happen occasionally. And Jason says, I played a LARP version of Wraith hosted in an old hotel. Each player had a person walking next to them as the voice of their darker side. So yeah, then as you scroll through the campaign, you can see the friends, as we were saying earlier, fiends. I don't want to spoil that for you. I think this campaign is great, and there's enough detail here. I could read this whole thing out, and I would entertain myself probably more than the rest of you. And then, of course, yes, have a cup of ink. Many Worlds Tavern, making up special blends. The deluxe barista box includes 2 custom roasted blends. One is dark as the ink, a spirited light roast. I think that's great. I really do. So yeah, I would be also interested to see how dark or how light it can be. And thank you, Snowbright. Actually, I've just seen your response. It will depend largely on your GM. It can be a dark and heavy game, or it can be much lighter and even humorous, depending on how your GM sets it up. Then there's the tiers, and this is where it gets challenging. I'm not going to beat around the bush, because first up, I want to say I really love this product. Okay, so take everything I say as constructive criticism, if anything, and I'm sure you've had these conversations back at the studio anyway. Supporter, $1, fine. PDF, $15, also fine. That's a good price. Book is $25, and I must confess, I'm kind of disappointed that it's only in softcover, in paperback. And I would personally, I'd rather see the price go up a little bit and pay for a hardcover. That's just me. I hate the fact that even if you don't manage to play a soft cover book very much or read it much, excuse me, too much coffee, the edges can get tattered and the corners kind of scuffed just on the bookcase, if you're using that bookcase a lot. So hopefully there'll be a stretch to make it hardcover, and maybe we'll see that in the comments in a second. And then there's the big jump. It goes from $25 for just the softcover book to $250 for the deluxe barista box set, and it is a huge jump. I'm not saying that's not value for money. Let me make that really clear. The amount of stuff that you get for this is wonderful. You get that box set, you get the book itself, you get coffee. I can't remember how large those things of coffee are. So 24 ounces, did we say? Trying to find now. 24 ounces. What's 24 ounces in grams? I'm having to Google it. Bear with me. Okay, 680 grams. So that's a not inconsiderable amount of coffee. And even cheap coffee, that's like bottom end of artisanal coffee. That's still like probably 25 pounds worth of coffee, maybe a little bit more in terms of pound sterling, our currency. Actually, for proper artisanal roasts, you could double that easily. So that's fair. Plus, obviously, the shipping of that, and getting people to do it for you and getting the custom bags and stuff. We know how expensive it is to get custom dice. They are not cheap. So and obviously the wooden container and the cards, etc. I'm not saying it's not value for money, but it's expensive. Even for the fill level, I think that's potentially hard for some people to, pardon the pun, to swallow at this time. And it would be good if there was a pledge level that kind of bridged the gap. So I personally would love to see a pledge level that has your book and maybe the cards, and I mean that would probably be it, and the trackers, because many of us have got too many dice as it is, or maybe a resin dice option. But I also know how difficult that is, and how you're really going for that top tier deluxe pledge, and it's gorgeous. So I want to drive that home, that I think this is wonderful. I don't know if there are stretch goals. But there's a charity partnership as well. And in terms of the team's great. So you've got Grace, Carrie, Quill, Bria, Danielle, Samantha, Amber, Marina, Don, Sequoia. It's a great team. And if you check out Snowbright Studio's own website, which is Snowbright Studio, singular, snowbrightstudio.com, you can see some of the things that they've done previously. There's a really good precedent, a strong precedent for wonderful products here. So I have no concerns about it at all in terms of the product delivering. But as someone that is a completionist who would love to be able to get a lot of those items, but probably couldn't justify some of them, a mid-level tier would probably go well. And yeah, if you had the opportunity to get a hardcover version in, you might find that people might be encouraged by that. I can only speak to my own personal preferences when it comes to books. In fact, if you're watching live and you're not Snowbright Studios, let me know if I'm being an idiot and that actually maybe I'm being too attached to hardcovers as opposed to soft covers, because it's always useful to give that kind of feedback. But I think it's great. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'd love to see some adventures in there. I don't recall that being directly called out. I'm just having a look. No, there's nothing kind of looks like it's directly there. So maybe as a kind of stretch goal, if there isn't such a thing already, a couple of little adventures to take your ghosts on, your spirits on, would be really well received, just to get people over that kind of first hurdle of where the hell do I start. Joel says you're just being Phil. Wait, we have an economy? I thought we were heading back to the barter system, seeing that the UK is being viewed by the outside world as an experiment in post-apocalyptic survival. Yep, post-apoc is what we're good at. Joel says, personally, I don't need a hardcover of stuff unless there's a game that will get heavy usage. That's fair as well. But in that case, I think that's where you just get the PDF instead. Personally, I would rather go PDF and then hardcover. But yeah, as I said, maybe that's just my personal taste. So, take it with a pinch of coffee. Dark Orb Patreon mug. Check it out. I really like it. It's on, as you can see if you're watching the screen, it's on BackerKit, so it's one of the BackerKit Pledge Manager projects. We've got some time left, 18 days. It's already surpassed its funding goal, and quite rightly so, because it's great. It's really fun. It's really unique. The video, as I said before, definitely worth checking out, because there's a lot of information there about the team and also about the project itself, and it kind of helps to set that tone. I really like it. So thank you, Snowbright Studio, for bringing something to crowdfunding that's very original, looks gorgeous, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, what do you think, everyone? Let me know. Dark orbs equal coffee beans. I've cracked the code. Yeah, says no sleep for you, mate. It's true. I haven't slept very well ever since the espresso machine landed. So yeah, that's very, very true. Oh, Snowbright, thank you very much for saying that you appreciate the feedback, and yeah, I can't really say much more. I think this is a really lovely project. Let's talk a little bit more about Orbtoberfest just for a couple of minutes. I've been really enjoying it. So on our Discord, we actually have a channel specifically for Orbtoberfest and the games that we're hoping to run. And obviously, this can always change, and real life is a thing. None of us are like full-time professional GMs, or even full-time this isn't my main gig, so we have to kind of work around real life. But as I said, Ghostbusters RPG was a hell of a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to the next one. Monster of the Week is coming up. I haven't played that for a while, but our GM Chris has been running that for quite some time, and he's great. So I'm really looking forward to that. Also up at the moment, I believe we've got the Yellow King in a few weeks, and Death in Space. Although we might need to change the scheduled date for one or both of those, but they're still currently penciled in. It's going to be a lot of fun. The games are open to our Discord members, so yeah, it's always interesting to get new people to the table and onto the Twitch stream, and we'll obviously bring those onto YouTube as and when as well. I need to find some time also to submit my game. Not that I can throw my name into my own hat to win a prize or anything, but I haven't run anything for a while, actually. Certainly not on the stream, and I'm well aware of that. So I'm having a think. Potentially another view scream, because I think that was a lot of fun. Well, I'm not sure how well that would work as a live stream, but we could give it a go for sure. And then I've been thinking again, maybe more cult. Oh, there's so many options for horror games, and there are more horror games coming all the time. So we'll find something. Jason says, not slept well since the espresso machine landed. Well, there's probably a link there, but I can't see it. It's here, my friend. It's here. It's right here. Yeah, I tell you what, this is a bit of a coffee. Sorry, a bit of a coffee nerdism thing. I've got to change the basket, which means that there is too much coffee going into my coffee at the moment, which is possible. So I need to get a smaller coffee basket so that I actually don't just spend the whole day, kind of in this wide-eyed limbo. Andy says his mug broke. I mean, if you will use it as a melee weapon, these things will happen. But as I said, contact Patreon. They can probably sort you out with another one if it's a fault. Otherwise, I can see what I can do about getting you another one. That's not a problem. I'll talk to them. All right, let's have a look at our next game. And there is a common thread here, and I like it. Let me just find the project. Here we go. Are we ready? Boom! Death Valley, a horror western tabletop role-playing game by Critical Kit Limited. Critical Kit are a UK company, which is a nice change. And they have a lot of pretty things on their main website. I'm just fighting with the stupid thing here. There we go. Right. They make a lot of, or they sell a lot of like artisanal dice, so glass dice with liquid in, and more importantly, from a tabletop role-playing perspective, they had a really successful product launch, I think last year, maybe beginning of this year, with a solo role-playing game that some of you might know, called Be Like a Crow. I must confess I didn't back Be Like a Crow, not because I didn't think it was stunning, because it damn well is, but in fact just because I have terrible self-discipline. So getting a solo role-playing game is, I find it difficult to get that to the table. However, there's so many of you that really appreciate having a solo role-playing game or a journaling role-playing game, because realistically, we're not always in a position where we can play well with others, and some of us aren't very good at that in the first place. Let's face it. You wanted to be a raven. I wanted to be Eric Draven. That's who I wanted to be. Amazing film, The Crow. Yeah. So Be Like a Crow was gorgeous, stunning, and Death Valley has brought some of that stuff in, but it's not just a solo game. It does have it though. It's a horror western mashup tabletop role-playing game in which you play an undead resident of Bardo's Bluff, including multiplayer, GMless, and solo play modes. How cool is that? That's very cool. So let's have a scrolly scroll. So there are 3 books in the primary campaign. It's created by Tim Roberts, who's the creator of Be Like a Crow, as I said earlier on. Now, where we're at is a little bit different here. They haven't hit funding yet. And honestly, I think that's a bit of a travesty because this game looks awesome. I'm sure they will. And let's, if you like the look of it, then, help them along. Be it as a PDF or whatever. Welcome to Death Valley. In this original horror western RPG, you play as an undead resident of Bardo's Bluff. All you yearn for is peaceful non-existence, but each day there are new stresses from both your fellow undead and the expansionist drive of the living. It's a horror western mashup. The town was populated by those who were wrongfully killed and now exist between their former lives and the next. So it's another purgatory game. You spend your days hoping for a quiet existence in the space between life and what lies beyond, helping keep your small settlement hidden from the living. There's always something endangering your peace in these wild and lawless lands. So yes, it's a purgatory game, like Ink, but pretty much that's where the similarity ends. It's a very different motif going on. There's a level of peril, I think, that it's not similar to Ink. Again, D6 resolution mechanic, 2 optional play modes, plus you get to play the undead in a Wild West setting. What's not to like? We do love a bit of Wild West. Let's have a look. Optional mode 1, GMless. So great, you can play with friends, but allowing the so basically playing. Sorry, I was buffering for a second. Then you can play like using the game itself as its own system, so all of you get to play along, which I think is really nice. Optional mode 2 is solo journaling, which is I guess taking things and Be Like a Crow, and that's a solo game. And then I believe you have the standard GM based role-playing game. So there's actually 3 modes in total, is my understanding, which is why I was pausing for a second and just making sure that I hadn't had that right. Because the GMless mode is optional. It's not like you have GMless or solo journaling. So there's actually 3 options there, which I think is really cool. You take your solo character into multiplayer games as well. and take them on own adventures between sessions. So if you happen to have a copy of this, maybe as a PDF, but you're not the person running the game, or of course, if actually all of you have a copy of the PDF and you want to continue exploring your character outside of your player group, you can do that. Not sure how others will feel if your character suddenly has, presuming there's a leveling up mechanic in this game, suddenly your character's like 5 levels higher than everyone else's. But you can set those limits in or communicate. The books. 3 hardcover rulebooks. They are A4 hardcover with 150 GSM gloss, so pretty much a standard role-playing game book. Starter book, which is your character creation rules, how to run the game. A scenario, which is good, thank you for doing that. NPCs, etc. And I do have some concerns. Well, concern's not the right word, but there's something that niggles me a little bit here. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So 90-page quick start rules, which I guess when they say the starter book, that's what they're referring to, the quick start rule books, containing all the character creation and gameplay rules you need to dive into the life in the town of Bardo's Bluff. And then, yes, Showdown at Scorpion Gulch. The advanced rules, which give you more characters and former lives, because as part of your character creation, you choose or you, I guess, roll or it is determined what your previous life was before you died, which I think is great. The Destiny mechanic for GMless gaming. So the solo journaling rules, if you want that, or the GMless rules are in the advanced rulebook, so you'll need that if you want to explore those options. Another scenario, the Children of Dust, more NPCs, and then the Lore Master's Guide, so that's your GM book basically, which has guides for creating further scenarios, a full setting, so another location to play in, a mini campaign, which is great, and guides for creating NPCs and items. Just going to switch back to the live comments and see what I've missed. I have to admit, given the choice between let's go to Death Valley and let's go to mildly uncomfortable Vale, I'd probably go to the latter. Absolutely. Excuse me, sorry. Brexit the RPG, the most horror of every RPG ever. I'm having to scroll back because I know I've missed a few comments here. I'm sorry. Jerry, good to meet you. Jerry, I'm new here. Found you while looking for Symbrum reviews. That looks great. I'm excited to see what else you reviewed. Love that. Thank you. Much appreciated. And yeah, the Discord. If you're watching on YouTube, the Discord is in the description. If you're watching on Twitch or no, if you're watching on Twitch, it's not there. Facebook and in YouTube, the link is down below. Please join. You're very welcome to. Everyone, you're more than welcome to join us. Let's see, Jerry. No coffee when you're dead. You gotta have coffee in Bardo's Bluff, surely. Just Andy says just back to ink. Yeah, right. Let's go back. Character creation. I mentioned this a little bit ago. Former lives, gunslinger, card shark, bartender. Western settings, basically, and then you have your type of undead. What are you now? Are you a skeleton? Are you a revenant? Are you a wight? Are you a vampire? I really like that you're not just a zombie. That actually makes a big deal to me. It means a lot that we haven't just taken that trope of, oh, you died and now you're a zombie. So that immediately gives you not only your background, whether or not you were a railroad worker and therefore probably quite buff, or a prospector, so a little very different kind of character in life. But also the type of undead is more your class now, so that's what you can actually do. You start with a number of free choice skill points, which you can allocate among these. So these: smarts, gunslinging, brawn, agility, riding, face, and judgment. 6 major skills over which you distribute your points. Those and the situations where they would apply are described in more detail in that starter book. You also have 2 prowess skills, and they're explicitly defined under the category of major skills, but offer you extra dice rolls. I haven't quite got my head around, and I'm not sure if it's described here, actually. We'll find out in a second what the actual system is, other than that you're rolling d6s. And there is I think it might be just on this next slide, gives you an idea of what the successes and failures are. So it might just be as simple as you roll and you need to hit either the 4, 5, or 6 for a success, or a 1, 2, or 3 gives you a failure. Maybe it's a case of you roll all of them and see if you get more successes than failures. I'm not sure. It might say further on. What it does say is that the advanced rules covers the optional play modes, and it's a d6 based resolution mechanic, Death Valley, that can be pushed. So we like things where you can push the roll, re-roll it because it wasn't very good. Limited resource of push points, so it's suggested you use them well. This is our land. They should be buried under it, not walking around on it. Sheriff Wayne Miller. I like that. Okay, let's look at the pledge levels, the rewards. It's not bad, but I still do have a hesitation, and we will talk about that in a second. The Advanced Rules bundle gives you the Quick Start rules and the Advanced Rules, £50. Quick Start rulebook, £15. Quick Start rulebook is a hardcover, £25. So you're not saving anything by buying 2 hardcover books, because it goes from 25 to 50. Well, I kind of have a bit of an issue with that. Not a huge issue, but I just think it's a shame. I probably would be inclined to either make the one book 30 and then do the 2 as 50, or maybe do the 2 as 45. I'd probably do the first one, to be honest with you, but as I said, I do have a concern. The Law Masters Bundle Digital, £65 for all 3 PDFs. That feels a little bit high. So it's £35 for the 2 PDFs, and then once you add on the Law Master's Guide, it doubles. That seems high. Just, it doesn't feel like it scales very well. And then £80 for the hardback kind of triple bundle, and that's not double the £50 for the Advanced Rules bundle. And it would make sense to me that, you know, this was significantly more expensive if it wasn't for the fact that when you look at the page count, and this is only the described page count, there's not a lot in it. So this was my concern. 90 plus pages for the Quick Start rules, 90 plus pages for the well, it says 90 plus pages for the Advanced Rules, 90 plus pages for the Law Master's Guide. And if you want to see what that looks like, and I only have 2 things to demonstrate here, but getting those 2 90 plus page books for £50 looks like that. So for reference, the Advanced Pack, the Adventure Pack 3 for Symbaroum, and the Grey Death for Mutant Year Zero. Yes. So Grey Death is 96 pages, and Symbaroum Advanced Player's Guide is 96 pages as well. You can see that actually, if I hold these up to the camera, you can see they do have different paper weights. Yes, different weights of paper. So the paper stock is different, and as such, they've got slightly different thicknesses. But still, that's not a lot for £50, and I didn't pay £50 for these 2. So yeah, for £80, you get 3 of those. It's kind of 300 pages. That's not a lot for your money in terms of physical product. I'm not saying that the writing isn't that high quality, or that the game isn't a good looking game. I think it looks amazing, but it's not cheap, and that does concern me, especially now. Do you get enough for your money? That's my question, and I'm not going to kind of say either way, but you know, it's certainly something to concern ourselves with. And then there are stretch goals and add-ons. So 10,000, you get a badge. 20,000, you get some custom D6s. 25 digital postcards, 50 a terrain pack. I don't know if that's physical or if that's like STL files, 3D printer files, and then 100 you get an add-on unlocked. And these are it's add-ons as well, so it's optimistic. And I'm not going to suggest that they're not going to be lovely, but it kind of feels to me like the game might be pricing itself out of success a little bit, which is a real shame. And hopefully that's not the case, because it looks really great. It looks like a lot of fun. They could probably do with having a little like a proper preview rather than just this mock-up to kind of give you a taster because of that price point, I think. So you know what you're getting. And that's my big concern. Otherwise, I think this looks awesome. Let me know what you think in the comments. What, do you like the look of this as a product? Do you think that my concern is justified, or do you think maybe that I've got the wrong end of the proverbial stick? I'm going to have some coffee. It's a bit cold now. I'm not entirely sure that that's the best way. Yours says, well, we had the Genesis who priced themselves out of the market from the other end. Price points and science on its own. I don't think that's the case with the Genesis, though. The Genesis actually was a profitable product to an extent. And the big problem with the Genesis was that, twofold. One is that they tried to give all their PDFs away they successfully gave all their PDFs away for free and didn't consider that people don't like buying things, especially people who don't have a lot of money because we've lost our jobs or whatnot throughout the pandemic. But the Genesis tried a social experiment where they gave all their PDFs away for free, thinking that people would see them, rightfully realize that they're freaking amazing, and then physically buy the products. And of course they didn't. I would have loved to have seen them do a pay what you want. Let me just do this, actually. I would love to have seen them do it like a pay what you want, and maybe put like a suggested price of $10 or something for each of those books. But of course, the difference with the Genesis is when you actually physically get the books, and I'm not going to get up and grab them now, but the £100 or so you pay for at full price for the rule book slipcase. Each of those books is like 350 pages, and the whole package of just 2 books, I think it was something crazy like 3.5 kilograms. I'll verify that. I might still have the image. It's on my phone, but otherwise I'm quite happy to check that and post something on our Discord. But like, they are substantial and heavy and gorgeous. And the moment you actually physically get that book package, you understand where the money has gone. It doesn't feel overpriced once you actually physically have it. But if I paid 50 quid and got 2 books like that, I'm not 100% sure I'd feel the same way, which is a shame, as I said, because actually I think the product looks lovely. I think that it's really, really nice. Due Genesis, Mu Genesis. Yeah. Yeah. So that's Death Valley. And I hope it does well. I really do. I don't want to like massively be negative about it. I don't like being negative about products. I think it was really fun. I'd love to play it. I'd love to get my hands on that book. But I think that they might struggle just from the price point alone, if nothing else. Yours says the books might have been extremely value for money, but the price of 0. Yeah, exactly. Put the mental value of the game low for lots of people. And that's where actually having the PDFs at the price they're at is probably not too unreasonable. I think it's a bit high, but I'm a huge fan of actually pricing your PDFs to represent how much it's costing you to make the product. But I think that for that project that we're looking at now, the economies of scale don't work very well. And I think, making them incrementally more expensive, like much more expensive, is a bit of a challenge. Jerry. So we're talking about Degenesis, which, and it's not just about how much they weighed, but the amount of content. So um, we'll probably have to do like a deeper dive. But if you go back to um, our YouTube back catalogue, actually, there's a Kickstart Your Weekend where I did an unboxing of the Degenesis Tsar Bomber bundle, which I got, and it wasn't cheap, but it was when they were selling everything off because they were pulling it from retail, and just they are gorgeous books, and the PDFs are gorgeous as well. They're just massively undervalued. If you charge too little for your PDF, then people will think that your product isn't worth anything. Charge too much and people won't buy it. So there's definitely an art to it. Jerry, if you join our Discord, I'll find the link and I'll share that. So we'll put that in the Streamy Banter channel. So it's a challenge. There's definitely a fine art between charging too much and charging too little, and obviously we don't know what's behind that pricing, and there is no money really in RPG. Certainly, as independent publishers, it's really hard to cover the costs, and I think a lot of companies actually, even the really lovely companies that look really professional and are really professional, quite often the people who are running those companies have more than one job, and it's like a not necessarily a side hustle, but it's the like that pride project. It's the thing you really want to do, but that doesn't really pay much money or barely covers its costs until you get to a certain level. Yoel says, I think the Chaosium model is brilliant for digital versus physical, and I completely agree with you. Chaosium's model is basically, we will sell you the PDF. Let's say it's $25. We'll sell you the PDF. We haven't printed it yet as a physical book, but we probably will. And then if enough people buy it as a PDF, or even just because they know they're going to do it, but they haven't got around to it yet, because obviously you have the PDF first. If you then want to buy your physical copy of your RPG from Chaosium directly instead of through a retail store, then Chaosium will offset the cost of the physical product by the amount that you paid for your digital product. So, if the book's $50 and the PDF was $25, I'm just picking these numbers out of thin air. My understanding is, and Yoel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that effectively the cost of that PDF will be deducted. So for the hardback, you'll then pay another $25, £25, whatever. I think any company that gives away a free PDF with a physical product is awesome. Yeah, I do agree with you, provided it's got some DRM on it, because they have to cover themselves a bit. So I do think that, yeah, if you've physically bought the book, excuse me, and especially if you bought it from that company directly or through Bits and Mortar, then the PDF should come with it. But I also agree with Yoel that the other way around, if you've bought the PDF, that should offset the cost of the hardcover, because all the expense really is encapsulated in the PDF. And actually, it doesn't cost 25 quid to turn that PDF into a book, for example. The cost, particularly for the larger publishers at least, the cost of printing a book, I understand it, is closer to $3 or $4 or £3 or £4 or euros. I mean, they're all basically the same thing right now, right? It's negligible compared to the cost actually of producing the artwork. So that's where I think, especially indie people need to be careful. Is that if you jump it significantly from the PDF to the hardcover, then that can be unattractive. Having them quite close together is actually more likely, I think, to end up with an uplift to a hardcover. So by all means, make a healthy profit on that hardcover compared to the cost of producing it and the cost of goods sold. But kind of balance it. Unless your production value really is that much more, then maybe don't jump it that much, because you'll just drive people away from the PDF and the hardcover potentially. Damien Livingston. I love this. So you just, without context, we go here. Sir Ian Livingstone, Dame Ian Livingstone. That is correct. Great comments. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined. I think we're probably at a natural stopping point here. Join me on the Discord. We'll continue this conversation. In fact, I've got a bit of time, so if you are on our Discord, I'll drop into our having a PDF attached to the hardcover is also an accessibility feature. Absolutely, that's a really good point. I'll jump into our Discord, into our little community space there for an audio chat for a little while. So if you're there and you would like to join in for a little non-Twitch after party, then we'll do that. But yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do join us next Monday on Twitch. I think we're going live at 7:30 BST for Monster of the Week. If there's any changes to that, we'll let you know on the Discord. If you have enjoyed the show, please hit like, please subscribe, and until then, I guess, and until next week, I just want to say thank you so much for joining, and I hope your dice rolls are much better than mine, because as we all know, mine have been terrible lately. Just go and check out that Ghostbusters actual play. Thank you, everyone. Take care. I really appreciate you. Ciao.